Hello everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage and welcome to today's video about AEW Fight Forever on Nintendo Switch. In today's video I want to talk about my overall first impressions after playing the game for the first time. So please sit back, relax, click like, subscribe, and hopefully enjoy. Here we go. So I finally bought AEW Fight Forever on Nintendo Switch. In today's video, I want to talk about what comes with the physical retail box version of this game, some of the issues, some of the things I like, and some of the missing features. So let's get right into it. First of all, what was in the physical retail box? Well, there was obviously the game on the card, which is great, and that game was shipped with version 1.00. And I'm happy to say that that game is absolutely playable out of the box without updating. So if you do buy this game and you don't have access to the internet, you can play this game right out of the box. The game will start, it will prompt you saying connect online, you just pass that screen, it will probably ask you again like it happened to me, and once you click through that screen again, absolutely playable, you can just continue from there. So after finding that out, that the game is playable without the need to connect to the internet, I updated the game. Now, the game updated in two phases, which surprised me a little bit. So it went from version 1.0 to 1.5, and then after that was complete, it jumped to 1.7, which is the most up-to-date version on all consoles. So straight away from the beginning, I was pretty happy with what I got. Game is playable offline, and we have the most up-to-date patch. So with that positive out of the way, let's talk about some negatives about the game, and then overall I'll finish the video with some positive things I liked, like I mentioned earlier. The first thing I'd say you'd notice are the frame hitches. Now, I have got gameplay running in the background. You should be seeing the frame just slightly jumps now and again as you are playing the game. If you really like buttery smooth frame rates, this game might get on your nerves a little bit, as you can see on screen. For me, it was fine, I do notice it, but it's something that overall doesn't ruin my experience. It just happens, and then the game just continues. The reason why it doesn't annoy me that much is that as I'm playing the game, basically it just pauses it for a split second, and then it continues. If this issue didn't pause the gameplay, and the gameplay continued, but the screen froze, I would be much more annoyed at this issue. However, like I said, it just pauses the gameplay, split second, and then you continue. These frame hitches happen much more in docked mode, as in handheld mode. I don't know if it's harder to notice, but I don't notice them as much. If you play your Nintendo Switch predominantly in handheld mode, this might not be that much of an issue for you. As I'm talking about handheld mode, there are two things that really jumped out while playing the game. The first one is during a 2-1 match, as you can see here on screen, there was a visual artifact, which I think was caused by the intro smoke. Now, if you didn't know, in AEW Fight Forever, during the entrances, you can actually control some pyrotechnics or some light shows behind the actual wrestlers. And one of those effects is actually smoke. You can use smoke behind the wrestler or where the wrestler is. I think that is what caused this issue. Now, I know it's a very short clip, and I did capture this in handheld mode, but it's an issue nonetheless. The second one kind of baffles me. Again, in handheld mode, you will see that a vertical color box appears here on the right-hand side of the screen for a few seconds, and it's actually stuck there. This happened also twice or 3 times. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but definitely happened twice. So if you are playing in handheld mode, there are some positives, but there also are some negatives, as you can see here, which hopefully will be fixed in the future. Now, as we are talking about the entrances are very short, at least in my opinion. One thing you will also notice is when the wrestler has their entrance, predominantly they will only have the entrance on the stage. That entrance will not continue to the ring. You'll just have the few seconds of seeing your wrestler walk out onto the stage, do whatever taunt they usually do, and then it cuts either to the next wrestler or it cuts straight into the match itself. However, there are other wrestlers that you do have the option to have the entrance cut straight to the in-ring entrance, if that makes sense. As you can see here, Adam Cole, when his entrance starts, he is already at ringside and then walking into the ring. Again, if you want to see this, you will have to sacrifice his entryway entrance, so you will not get both. Now, I see a lot of people saying that I don't mind this because it was based on other games like the games on the N64. Those being WCW NWO World Tour, WCW NWO Revenge, WWF No Mercy, and WWF 2000. Having those games, I can say these do annoy me a little bit because they seem much shorter. Which also reminds me of something else that was present in those games and not present in this one, which might actually be the reason why I feel like these are much shorter. In the wrestling games on the N64, you would usually have a few seconds of the Titantron video play before the wrestler actually presents themselves to the player on the entryway, which is not in AEW Fight Forever, which means for me, I would like to see, if not in this game, maybe in the next AEW wrestling game, full entrances be added. That means entryway, walking down the ramp into the ring, and then a taunt in the ring, accompanied by a small video package of each wrestler's Titantron, maybe 2 seconds to 5 seconds worth at the beginning before the wrestler actually walks out. And to wrap up the issues, again, I have loads more of these, but I want to keep this video quite short. So if you want to see me talk more in depth about my issues, things I like in another video, please click that like button below, leave a comment, let me know that's what you would like to see. I would say also the creator wrestler, it's also quite limited. As I was talking about the entrances, I don't know why it takes so long, and this might be a limitation of the Nintendo Switch itself, but I don't know why it takes so long to actually change an entrance. And it seems like these features are kind of hidden, menus behind menus, which I think the UI could use a little bit of work there to make this look a little bit easier on the eye. And as we're talking about the creator wrestler, when you create an attire for a wrestler, which is a topic I can talk about another day if you'd like more in depth, but just to talk about once you have created that attire for the wrestler, why didn't they mimic what was there in the N64 games before, which is when you select your wrestler, just tap a button left or right to change their outfit. Now, I mentioned this, it is a little thing, but I think this is part of some of my issues with this game. It just seems like, again, features are hidden behind menus when they could just be displayed to the player. So if you select the wrestler, click a button left or right, you will see the different attires that they have. And then if you click the button again, it will select that wrestler in that attire. I think that would be easier. If I remember, we saw this feature in all the N64 wrestling games, so kind of weird that that is not here, but again, might be limitations on engine or the system, I am not sure. Moving on to things that I like. The gameplay does remind me of some of the best wrestling games of all time. I've mentioned them several times in this video. N64 games to me are brilliant. I absolutely love playing those games. The games on the PlayStation 2 were also very good, but my personal favorites were definitely the Nintendo 64 ones. And this game does a great job of reminding me of playing those games. When you're actually in the gameplay, I really like it. It's really fun. To the point that I wanted to make this video. I wanted to let people know that for me at least, the game is fun. I really like it. If you like the N64 games, I think you will find a resemblance here to this game. You have weak and strong grappling. You have weak and strong striking. Just like the N64 games, all these moves are applicable to the opponent, whether they're facing you standing up, sitting down, or laying up towards you, facing away from you, sitting away from you, laying down on the mat. With the additions of anytime the opponent is running towards you or when they're on the turnbuckles. So this is very, very good. I really, really like this, especially when you think that this is the first game that AEW has made. So I really, really enjoyed it. The graphics themselves are obviously something that is subjective. Whether the visuals are or not pleasing to you is dependent on each person. Now for me, I actually don't mind the graphics. Are they the highest fidelity? No. Do they have to be? No. Again, in my opinion. I really like what I see. I think this graphical style will actually look better with time as opposed to other games which rely on realism. As graphical fidelity goes on, the realistic games we think look realistic today will not look realistic later. So having a visual style that is stylized, I think actually lends itself very well to this type of game and its longevity. Although there are moments in the game you look at some of the wrestlers and you think, oof, that doesn't look like them at all. But overall, the graphical style, I think, is actually pretty good. Now, again, like the things I didn't like, there are many more things that I do like, but again, to keep this video short, I will mention two more things in things that I like. Number one, In the Create a Wrestler, as I mentioned it before in the things I don't like, there's actually some things that I do like in here. It's a very good amount of moves and different scenarios in which those moves could be applied to your opponent, which again reminds me of those Nintendo 64 games, which is a good thing. And here in this game, it works pretty well. And when I saw the amount of moves available, I was pleasantly surprised. And this is always something obviously the company could add to later on. But in its current form, I think the amount of moves are very good. But having those amount of moves and not being able to create the look of the character you want is a little bit weird to me. But having all these moves in the base game is very good. So if you want to create a character, you can. There are loads of moves in the game. To close out the things that I like, I would say the button config and remapping. Now, this is something I mentioned on this channel quite a few times. I really like it when games allow you to remap buttons. I love playing any game that I can with an arcade stick. This game, obviously, I'm going to play predominantly with the Joy-Con. However, nothing's stopping me from playing this with an arcade stick, so I am going to do that because this game has the facility to configure your buttons and remap them, which is great. And always something that I like to mention anytime I can, because if you want to use controllers that you like to use, then remapping is very important. And this game does indeed have button remapping. Lastly, I'm going to talk about some missing features. AEW Fight Forever doesn't have a news channel for Nintendo Switch. I think that's weird and should be fixed as soon as they can to inform the players of any updates that they do have. The player indicators. So during the match, you can have a player indicator to show which opponent your player is looking at the feet of your character. Good option to have, however, if you could actually toggle this on or off during an actual match. Because I found out pretty quickly, you can't do that in AEW Fight Forever. So I toggled it on because I had a multi-person match, and then in the next match, it was a 1v1 match, and I want to toggle that to off, and I couldn't actually do that. I had to exit the match itself, go to the options in the main menu, and toggle that feature to off, and then go back into the match. That seems a bit weird to me, and it seems like something that should be in the pause menu of the match itself. The stages of the shows don't match the current shows themselves on TV, which is a little bit weird, but I've already seen that AEW might be adding the new stages. So that's a good thing for the future, but currently, if you are trying to play some matches that you would like to see on TV, you will definitely notice that the stages of the shows do not match the shows themselves. But again, that's going to be updated, so a good thing, just missing for now. Different types of matches are definitely something that come to mind straight away when you are playing the game. There are no cage matches, no backstage matches or brawls backstage. I haven't had one match interruption, which is very weird. Usually, again, in wrestling games, you expect now and again a wrestler to just run down the ramp and start attacking you for no reason during one of your matches, which usually, again, that feature has a toggle for on or off. But in this game, hasn't happened yet, so I'm assuming it isn't there. You can't make factions, at least as far as I'm aware, which would work very well with interruptions. If you had factions, you could have a selection of wrestlers that you particularly don't like or your character doesn't like at this point in time, and then they could interrupt your matches. You can't actually do any of that, which is a big, big shame. So lastly, overall, I actually really enjoy AEW Fight Forever. The word I would attribute to this game is fun. The game is fun to play. If you like arcade-style wrestling games, I think you'll like this game. There is a lot here to learn. You can definitely improve your playstyle while playing this game. The game looks good, at least in my opinion. Actually, I will mention one of the things I was going to mention earlier, but I didn't. The music is one of the big reasons that I wanted to buy this game. I found that all the wrestlers in the game have their music in the game, but in different places. If you go into the jukebox, you will notice that some of the songs are not in there, and some of the more popular ones. To find those songs, you will have to select the wrestler that you would like to listen to their song, modify their entrance, and you will find that their songs are there. And I think there was at least one song that was locked to just one wrestler that I couldn't apply to any other wrestler. So that's also something to think about. But all in all, does it need updating and patching? Yes, it does. Is it in a bad state right now? No, it isn't. It just feels like some things are missing. But again, it is the first game for AEW, THQ, and Yuke's all together. So I wouldn't expect the game to be a feature-complete game from the get-go. It would have been nice, and I would have preferred it that way, but it's not usually the way it does work. However, some of the things that are missing, like match types and the creator wrestler items that are missing. They're just not there. Like I tried to give Christian Cage a cut sleeve t-shirt similar to what he wears during the shows. I couldn't find a way of doing that, which to me is a little bit of a letdown. But again, these things hopefully can just be updated and patched later on and added to the game. It does seem like there will be more content for this game, but whether that's paid or not, that seems a little bit uncertain at this point in time. There was a season pass and there were characters added for the first season of downloadable content, and it seems like there's going to be a second season. If you want to hear me talk more about that, I might talk more about my opinions on that in another video. But again, trying to keep this video as short as I can. So overall, on Nintendo Switch, I like the game. I think it's good. Let me know what you think of AEW Fight Forever on Nintendo Switch or any other platform down in the comments. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much again for watching. If you like what I do here, please click that like button down below. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to see more, please click that subscribe button, as that is the only way this channel can grow. Now, I hope you liked this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, thanks again.